Thanks, John and Michelle, for the invitation to come and speak to you all. And well done on the 10 years of successful business. One of the things I think is important in success, to be successful in business, is the ability to reinvent yourself and be flexible. And that's clearly what you're doing here today. And I'm 12 years in business, and I like to think that I'm flexible. One of the things I'm doing is using Google Slides for the first time. So there you go. Where's my little flicker? Thanks. Okay. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, I suppose, the future and where I see the writing on the wall being. And one of the things that I think Passive House really is the essential part of where I think this is all going. Not just housing, but all kinds of commercial and residential buildings. So just as by means of introduction, I will talk to you a little bit about what Passive House is, but also where we are now and where it's going in the future. The Passive House Association of Ireland, which I'm a member of, its function is, it's a national organisation, a voluntary organisation who look to disseminate to the industry, to designers and contractors and builders and manufacturers of products applicable to passive house construction, to help us all kind of help each other to get the information out there. You can see who the founding members are in terms of sponsors of the organisation, and this is just a quick flyer from our next event happening in the north of Ireland, where it's an evening that we get specialist speakers in to talk about different aspects of projects they've done or methodologies they're using. So I am going to try and encourage people who are interested in the Passive House field to consider becoming a member and supporting the organisation, who will in turn support you. We have a really strong group of people doing Passive House in Munster. Just last year, for the first time, we managed to persuade everyone to come down from Dublin and come to Cork to CIT and have the national conference there. So that was very successful, and we're going to see more of that. We have a technical briefing like this happening in April in Cork, in CIT again. There's one happening in Waterford. And also what we organise is site visits to buildings that are in progress. So you can see, if you're a client or if you are a builder thinking of getting into this field, you can come and see a Passive House building under construction where it's in its raw state, and you can see what lengths the builders are going through to ensure quality and to ensure that the completed building is going to perform to this international low energy standard. So what is a passive house? You'll see these two terms bandied about. They're basically interchangeable. That's just the German spelling. But passive house in German means passive construction. So it's not just about houses. It's all kinds of building. And it essentially is it's a building standard for low energy buildings that require little energy for space heating or cooling, while achieving defined standards from comfort. And for me, that's the critical part. That this is although it's a low energy building, it's delivering guaranteed levels of comfort. You can have a building that doesn't consume energy, but it's a disaster to be in. The point is that we're guaranteeing comfort while using almost no energy. It usually entails, to achieve that, high levels of air tightness, high levels of insulation, good access to solar radiation. So that's basically lots of glazing that's capturing the sun, but without overheating. So part of the comfort thing is there's no point in having a building with lots of glass that you can't bear to be in because you can't cool it. It usually entails mechanical ventilation with heat recovery and high air quality. Again, got to try and get across to people who aren't familiar with this building technology that you can open the windows. It's about good air quality, and that's one thing that I'll talk about later on. And part of this is also the elimination of thermal bridges. So those are cold spots in buildings. Under sills typically is where we have a gift at making buildings not work in this that aren't built to the standard. What it achieves is 100 to 200 euros per annum heating costs. So I've done several passive house buildings, and that's consistently been the result that clients are coming back with when you ask them how much it's costing them for space heating and hot water. No mould or drafts. High air quality with openable windows, year-round comfort, so in summer and in winter, and it is the most reliable solution to low CO2 buildings, and that ties in nicely with the LEED certification that you're talking about too. So what is the future for Passive House? So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what legislation is coming down the road and why I think this is inevitable. We have an EU directive that Ireland has signed up to, which basically states, to summarise, that by 2020 all new buildings are to be nearly zero energy buildings. And after 2018, all public buildings have to be built to that standard. That's only 2 years away, that if you're building a hospital, it has to be built to nearly zero energies, or a school, or whatever it's going to be. And that's not very far away. And that it also states that we've got to draw plans basically to transform buildings to be refurbished to nearly zero energy buildings. So that begins to paint a picture of, if we're going to have to refurbish buildings that are going to be completed to our current building regulations to nearly zero energy from 2018 on, which is dramatically more expensive than getting it right now, maybe we should make the jump and start doing this and not have to be dragged kicking and screaming into where we're going to be in the future anyway. The building regulations are being changed, so the government is doing this incremental approach where we gradually get closer and closer to our obligations in NZEB. 2018 Part L for domestic buildings is going to be revised. Right now, 2016 commercial buildings are going to be revised, so you'll expect later on this year they're going to publish a new Part L for non-commercial buildings, which won't go as far as NZEB. They're going to make one step change in 2017, and they'll probably revise it in 2019 again. But some people aren't happy to wait for the government to tell us what to do, and we have Dunleary-Rathdown County Council, you may have heard, have brought into their development plan that they are going to bypass the Department of the Environment's regulations and make the jump themselves right now to PassivHaus for all buildings, commercial and residential. So that was voted on just before Christmas, and an overwhelming, well, maybe not overwhelming, but a close enough majority. I won't get into the politics of who supported it and who didn't, but you'd be surprised that there was quite cross-party support, a lot of independents and Labour not too happy with it. But that's now it's going out for public consultation, and it's due to be formally adopted early next month. So that's a game changer in Ireland, to have a local authority saying, we're going to make this decision ourselves. And it's going to be very interesting to see who follows next, because you may recall back in about 2007, Fingal County Council bypassed the local government and introduced local regulations saying you had to put in solar panels and you had to do go beyond Part L in terms of the performance of their buildings. And everybody panicked, and lo and behold, 2, 3 or 4 more local authorities followed suit, and then the government went, well, if they've done it, we might as well do it. So you have local authorities leading the way, and government not always being brave enough to do what they should be doing, which is leading the way.